I wanted to do hood rat stuff with my friends. Fun to do bad things and drive into a car.
What's going on, TubeU? Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gents. Today's little video, man, simply whether or not E85 is the right move for you. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips and points and things that I picked up along the way, and that I feel like that you guys should, or if you don't already, that you should know, hopefully to help make your decision of whether or not you want to stay 91, 93, or make the jump to E85. Hopefully this makes your decision just a little easier. That's the goal of this video. At least I hope so anyway. So hopefully I can help you guys in some way, shape, or form. And if it does, please like, please subscribe, please share, and hit that bell icon. So jumping right into it, I'm gonna give you guys a little backstory on why it took so long for me to go E85 in the first place, and why I eventually did, decide to make that jump myself. So you guys remember back to the little scat pack, little 100-shot scat pack tune for running around here, but it's pretty much an NA tune, and with it being a 100-shot with the two-step coated plugs, I didn't really have a nitrous tune per se. So pretty much just tuned for the extra flow of the headers and to get rid of the check engine light for the capless mids. It's pretty much just so I can run out here and be as loud as fast as possible on the NA setup. The nitrous, like I said, with it only being a 100-shot, I didn't really have to worry. But eventually I wanted to up that shot to 150. Well, actually I wanted to do a 125, but I guess I didn't have the jet sizes to do a 125. So I opted to do, jump up to a 150 shot. And there was either a couple of ways I could do that. I could, bump down timing a little bit more, which I didn't know how to do, so I would have to go get another retune or something like that. Or I could bump to either race fuel or E85. So race fuel just being way too expensive, and me not wanting to, where the hell I'm gonna get race fuel from every freaking time I want to go racing. I figured let's try E85 because there was E85 stations up there at the time, and I figured that would be the move. Start doing research, and I started seeing how these things were pretty new to being tuned at the time, or pretty new to being tuned, and the tuning wasn't really there. The support and the modability just wasn't quite there yet. This was way back in I got my car, it was a 2016, so I got it in 2016, and when I started looking, it was about 2017, so the cats have been on the market for about 2 years. So at that point, tuning had picked up, but it wasn't really, quite there just yet. And of course, all the focus was pretty much on the cats, not so much on the 392s at that time, and your boy wasn't feeling it, man. From what I've been seeing and reading online, about corroded lines, blown engines, yada yada yada. You gotta do this for E85, that, and it would just seem like a complete headache to me, and I didn't want to take on any more ass pain than I had to. And at the time, I was pretty competitive with just my 100-shot up there in North Dakota, so I didn't really need to. It was just more of that little cushion, what I'm saying, so I could be just a little faster. But well, as you can see, I didn't end up doing the 150 shot. I just settled for the 100 shot and then eventually traded the car in on the first Hellcat. And if you guys have been following the channel, you already know what happened to that one. So fast forward, here we got this thing here. Take it to, or I've been hanging out here for a couple of months now, running around on 91, and I didn't really run into many people, to race, and I don't really want to be out there racing a freaking bone stock Hellcat. Like, sure, they're fast for stock, but they're not the fastest. Like, that's just simple. Like, with a tire, you'd be lucky to, actually put the power down on the track, and with the tire, they're capable of high tens. That's pretty respectable, you know what I'm saying? But on the streets, not so much. So I finally started looking at modding these things, and I was just gonna finally take all of the parts that I had for my old cat, because you guys know I was supposed to mod that one. I was gonna take all the parts for that, the 285, pull it, the catalyst mirrors, JLT, all that jazz, and just throw them up here. So that would have been just a 285 upper on 91, which I later found out from talking to multiple shops around here, they all tried to edge me away into the other direction of E85. And I'm like, man, what the hell? What's the deal? I don't want to run E85. Like, it's like 30 miles away. Like, I just want to, why can I not just run this? Well, if you got multiple shops telling you something, it's probably for a good reason. And later I found out why. Simply because a 285 on 91 is, you're playing with fire. There's just no other way around it. Like, you're on borrowed time for sure, and that's quite a bit of boost to be running around on 91 octane, because that's all that's available out here. Unless I was gonna be running down the Willow and filling up on expensive ass race fuel, because that's, as far as I know, that's the nearest race fuel station that I can actually go to and just, you know, pump gas, is at Willow Springs. So after, you know, doing a little bit of talking and finally deciding on which shop I would go with, SRT Auto Works, I finally, you know, I get on the phone and I'm like, hey, can I just do my 285? Would you guys be willing to do that? Just a sec. And Jenny, she goes back there, she talks to Tommy. Tommy gives her the explanation. She brings it back to me. I was like, fuck, man. All right, well, I guess I can just go with you guys' package. So basically, my 285 was useless, and they would have urged me just to do the 10% lower. And then I started looking at it, I was like, well, if I'm spending $6 grand just to get, you know, run safe power, then how do I get the most power? It was like, you gotta run 85. I'm like, really didn't want to do that, but looks like I'm gonna have to. So that pushed me to finally make my decision. I was like, you know, screw it. Either I'm gonna just get this 91 package right now, which is called the Domestic Killer package. Either I'm gonna get this and then I'm just be right back here a year later trying to get the Exotic Killer package, because I knew deep down that just wouldn't have been enough power. Like, it would have been, you know, enough to finally be faster than I was, but I don't think it would have satisfied me truly. And now with the E85, I can surely say I'm pretty satisfied with where I'm at. Like, I have yet to run this car at its full potential against anyone out here on the streets, just to say. So that pretty much sums up why I made the switch to E85. I didn't really do much research after that, like I should have, but I've been learning along the way, and I'm going to share those nuggets with you guys. I didn't really, you know, take into consideration how the fuel ups and startups and, you know, all that stuff. Well, we're going to cover all that, and hopefully, you know, that helps you to make your decision on which route you want to go. So point number 2, why E85 can possibly be good for you. So simply put, you can run more power for cheaper. No, you guys just heard me explain that on 91 I couldn't, you know, run more power. I would have been stuck with the 10% lower. That would have been, you know, the max I could do. Now obviously you can do your own thing, but if the shop, and like I said, I've talked to multiple shops and they would not, they didn't want, they probably would have done it if I'd have, you know, nagged and begged enough, but they advised me to not do the 285 upper on 91. So if a couple of shops are telling you not to do something, it's probably a thing for it, and there you go. There's a reason why. So on 91, I would have been limited to, you know, the 10% lower, which is good for around 750, 700s to the wheel. That would have been good around there. But on E85, and this is just the stuff from the pump, and luckily where we're stationed, or where we stay at, the stations here, they always test that 80% content and above, and I'll get into that in a little bit. So the E here, basically the E here is pretty damn good, is what I'm getting at. So I can run damn near my full tune without having to freaking worry about, you know, detonation or anything crazy like that, because every time I go there and test, it comes out at 80% and up. So it's pretty damn good. Granted, I still like to be safe, and I don't run, you know, the top of the line tune or the kill tune, as some of you may call it, unless I make sure I filled up on the Ignite. That's the only time I put that tune on there, because I want to be as safe as possible, and you know, it helps with the longevity and the life of the car. So just me being safe, I'll stick with that. So what it does is E85 burns at a lower temperature. So that's partly why, you know, when you go to start your car, if you already have E85, you're making an E85, or you've seen some E85 videos, the cold starts take, you know, 1, 2, 3 tries at the most that I've seen. The most I've seen is 4 tries, and that was when it was like 30 to 40 degrees outside. Lately, it's been around 60s and 70s, so 1 or 2 tries, she usually fires right up. But in the summertime, I have no problem. She fires right up first time, every time. If I drive it the day before and then come back and restart it the next day, she usually starts right up. And then even when it's super cold out, as long as I get that first cold start out of the way, she usually fires up the first time, every time during the day after that. The only time it does it is usually the first start of the day, because that fuel is just burning so much colder that it's so much harder to, you know, get a spark going. So that's why it's harder to start, because it's hard to get a spark going with a fuel that burns so much colder. Unlike 91. 91 fires right up. Now, we'll get into a way that you can, you know, try to fight that later on. So, but that's pretty much it. It's a colder fuel. You can pull more timing, or you can add more timing. Sorry about that. Colder fuel that lets you add more timing. You can make more boost. There you go. The E85 will allow you to add more timing and get more power out of your vehicle safer. Granted, your content levels are good. You know what I'm saying? We'll get into that. But if you're on 91/93, just regular pump stuff, then you're pretty limited. Now, I like the back east where you guys have 93. I see a lot of you guys pushing your cars, and I see them on 93 making, you know, just as much power as I am, which is cool. But we don't have that, you know, luxury out here. We're stuck with the crappy little 91, and I feel much safer that I can just go, you know, dump in some E85, and, you know, I'm making some pretty good steam on the E85 alone. But if you can make just as much power on 93 safely, then by all means, stick with the 93. But if you know, you're just looking for that little extra cushion, you want that little extra power bump, then on a boosted application, you get a pretty sizable difference. I think you guys can go check out Tim Barth or Jeremy Sotero's, their Instagram pages. And I think switching from 91 to 85 on the Charger Red Eye Hellcat, this is a recent post, so you should be able to go down and find it on this page. Switching from 91 to E85, I think it was damn near, it was over 100 wheel horsepower gain, just switching from, you know, regular pump gas to E85 and the cat deletes. I forgot about the cat delete. So cat delete, E85 tune, and picked up over 100 wheel horsepower. No upper, no lower, just cat delete, tune, and E85. Those 3 things, pretty freaking simple for 100 wheel horsepower gain. So the benefits of E85 are definitely there, man. So, you know, hopefully, you know, that makes a little choice. So let's get into point number 3. Point number 3 is simply going to be making sure you know where the E85 stations are. You don't want to get the thing done, or, you know, switch over to E85, or decide you want to go down this route and then realize, oh, the nearest station is 150 miles that way, or some crap like that. The nearest station to me is like 35 miles away, and they're putting a newer one in. It's about 2 miles closer to where we stay at, but can't complain. It's not the closest, but it's damn sure not the farthest. So it's worth it to me to get the extra, you know, 200 horsepower over, you know, just running 91. So it's definitely worth it to me. And 90% of the time, I'm usually down that direction some way, some form. Either I'm going to get a haircut, I'm going to work, or I'm just going down there to hang out. You guys have seen all those Sonic meets. I literally just go on to Sonic, fill up my jugs, and, you know, bring them home. So I'm never really out of fuel. I got 5 jugs over there with 3 cans, and I keep them full at all times. Very rarely there's ever any sitting over there empty for very long. Maybe they sit empty for like a day or 2, but usually I'm gonna make a trip down there, and then I fill it up. And then with friends who are on E85, if they're making a trip down there, like Mike with the Blue GT500, if he goes down there, he usually lets us know, and he's like, hey, you need to fill up? I'm on the way down there. And I'm like, hey, I'll just run over to his house real quick, drop him off my tank, and then he goes down there and fill him up. So not bad at all. Like, usually I don't even have to worry about that, because like I said, we're always going down there, so it's not bad at all. Now I would say if the nearest station is more than an hour away from you, then E85 might not be the best for you. Unless you got like a big ass jug or something like that, like a big 100-gallon tank, and you take it down there with your big old pickup, you fill it up, bring that bitch back, and you're good to go. Hey, you do that. That's fine. Cool. Works. It works. I don't have that luxury. and I stay within a reasonable distance, so it still works out for me. But if you're freaking more than an hour away and you don't have a big ass gallon, then get ready, because it does eat fuel. Like your fuel mileage does go down. If you're just cruising, the mileage isn't bad at all. Like I was able to cruise, you guys, you saw the Phoenix episode. After I got the car done and I drove back on a full tank of Ignite, I got maybe 2 hours from the house before I finally filled up with the extra tank of Ignite, the extra 5 gallons of Ignite that I got from Tommy. I finally just, let's go ahead and dump this in there. And then I was able to get pretty much all the way home before I finally had to fill up on 91 just to make the rest of the drive home, because I didn't want to chance, another station not being somewhere. So I was like, screw it, I'm not even going to chance it. Let's just fill up on the 91, and I just switched to the 91 too. So, along with the stations, another thing that you could look into, if the stations are just a little far, but you can make the trip every now and then, is you can look into a flex fuel setup. This is a pure E85 setup, so when I'm making full steam or full power or whatever, it's strictly E85. Like I can't just go, dump in some 91, just fill my tank up real quick and then expect it to run all right. Like it'll run, but I wouldn't advise you, go full, wide open throttle on it, because you're playing with fire. But it'll run on 91. I even have a 91 tune, which I can throw in there, and it changes some things. I don't know what it does, but it changes some stuff, limits the car to 300 horsepower, and it's strictly for driving point A to point B. Like if I can't find an E85 station and I'm on a road trip across the country, and I just dump the 91 in there, like I can still do highway speeds, I can still, chug along at whatever speed that I want to, but I can't be out here just, pedal to the metal trying to race every damn body and, potentially blow my shit sky high. That would be real catastrophic if I'm out in the middle of freaking, I don't know, Idaho or something like that, going across the US and kaboom me because I want to be stupid on a tank of 91. So that tune is available, but like I said, if you have, if you want to do flex fuel, then you can just, dump some 91 in there, and then whenever you finally do make it to the stations, you can just dump some E85 in there. And once you do that with the flex fuel setup, it automatically adjusts timing and whatever. It either pulls or adds timing based on the ethanol content. So say you're running a quarter tank of 91 and then you dump in so the rest of it is E85. So it brings out your content to about E70 or something like that. So the computer would automatically adjust, bump your timing up some, and then you're like, all right, you got a little more ethanol in here, we can go out here and have a little more fun, and you'll be good to go. You don't have to worry about a thing. I don't have that luxury because, like I said, it's a purely E85 system or setup, and if I dump 91 in here, the computer will not adjust, so it'll just try to run full power all the time. It won't pull timer or anything like that, and I could potentially have a big ass paperweight on my hands, and it will not be a fun day for me or you decide to go this route. So E85 is another option if you're one of those people who stays further away or something like that. And with the flex fuel setup, you don't run into the cold start problem. Like I was mentioning earlier, it takes me 2, 3, 4 tries, especially if it gets cold out there. Since there's more 91 or 93 in your tank, or less ethanol, I should say. Since there's less ethanol in there, your tank, your car doesn't have to fight as hard and start or crank and get that spark going. It doesn't have to fight as hard because you're running some of that 91 or 93, and versus the E85 only setup where that stuff is pretty freaking cold, so it's going to take a couple of tries to get started. So if that's one of the deciding factors, the cold starts mixed with the driving the distance or whatever, then a flex fuel setup might be for you. So definitely looking at that. Tim Barth, Jeremy Sotera, Kurt Dusterhoff, I believe they all offer some type of flex fuel setup. So hit them up. I'm no expert on this. Hit those guys up. Their names are pretty well known in the Mopar community, and they can get you on the road. Me personally, I'm tuned by Tim Barth, and eventually I want to go to the E80 or the flex fuel setup, but I'm having some pretty good fun right now on the purely E setup, and it's not too bad for me, so I'm not really worried. And like I said, the ethanol content has been pretty consistent where we stay at, so it doesn't really change much. So you know what I'm saying? I don't really have a reason to, you know, worry about flex fuel because it's been pretty consistent at 80% and above. So it's not that much worry for me. So let's get into point number 4. So point number 4 is simply going to be fuel system maintenance / overall car maintenance, because that's another thing that I did not know before I made the jump to E85. Luckily, I haven't really been driving the car like crazy or anything like that, so I don't really have much to worry about. One thing is going to be oil changes. So on 91, 93, you can run, you know, 5, 6, 7,000 miles on your oil change. Usually when I was on 91 or just regular gas, I would just run it down till the car got to like 30, 40%. Then I would finally change it. Of course, that little percentage counter, it varies depending on your driving behavior, mileage, time that it's been sitting in the car, all that stuff. It takes all that into account as it's, you know, calculating your oil life percentage and all that jazz. So for me, I would just run it down to like 30, 40%. And I'll be like, okay, I guess I'll go get an oil change or change my own because I don't go to the dealer anymore. And that's when I would change the oil. So I don't know, maybe 5,000 miles is when I would change it. I'll just say that. And after the E85, I started reading about how oil, the E85 gets into your oil, it breaks it down quicker, all this other stuff. I'm like, wait, is that real? And I started doing more research, and sure enough, I started reading and seeing it more. I'm like, oh crap, so I need to do more freaking oil changes. I didn't know that. So luckily, I didn't have any problems before then. I've been, you know, pretty crazy about my oil changes. I got literally 2 more boxes of oil just standing by ready for the next oil change, which I actually got coming up due. I think I'm sitting at 75% oil life right now. So I'm about there. And I keep my little tracker on my phone, last oil change versus this oil change. And the last one was at like 16,000 miles and we're sitting at like 17. So I want to be in like 1,000 miles on this batch of oil right now. But I still think I'm gonna change it here whenever it gets to 70%. So I'm trying to keep it at either the 70% marker or the 3,000 miles, whichever comes first, and that's when I'll change it. Some people say you need to do 1,000 miles, some people say you need to do 2,000. I feel like 1,000 is a bit overkill, because I asked Tommy, and you know, you guys have seen what his car can do. You haven't, just go up to his page at SRT Auto Works, check out the shop car, and he said he just changes his every 3,000 miles. So I'm like, good enough for me. If the freaking builder, the motherfucker that did my car, does his every 3,000 miles, then I can do mine every 3,000 miles. Like, he actually does the bits and tracks and stuff like that with his car. I just go out here and do a couple hood rat things maybe every week, and you know, I just go about my merry way. I'm not out here doing racing and crazy stuff like that, and events and half miles and stuff like that. So I shouldn't need to do as many oil changes as he would do, but I still, you know, stick to the 3,000 mile or the 70% marker whenever I get there. Next up is going to be your fuel system. So you guys know, once you switch to E85, you got to upgrade your fuel pumps, you got to upgrade your injectors, your fuel lines, and all that other jazz, your fuel filter. All that stuff needs to be upgraded to handle the E85 and the heightened flow rate. So one thing that I wasn't aware of is, so I got my little beaker here, and actually, let me go grab the other beaker. All right. So the next part of the E85 is your system maintenance, your injectors, your fuel pumps, your fuel filter, all that jazz like that. So as you can see here, I'm gonna get a little closer. Hopefully you guys can check that out. It looks pretty clear in there, right? And for those of you wondering what I'm talking about when I say content, so you see these little lines of percentage, this is the little thing that you use to test, you know, your content level with your E85. You fill it up right here to this line with water, and then you fill the rest up to here with whatever fuel that you're filling up with. So you just go to the pump, grab a little bit, pour it in here, and fill it up to the line. And once you shake it up, show you guys. Once you shake it up, it gets all cloudy, and then it starts to separate. You see it's already starting to separate. And then wherever that little clear line, I hope you guys can see that, wherever that little clear line goes to, if it's, you know, if it settles right there at 80%, you got 80% content. If it settles at 85, you got 85, you know, so on and so on. Wherever that little clear line where you can clearly see the liquid separating, that's where your content level is. So just showing you guys, this is what it's supposed to look like. And as you guys can see, there's not much going on inside this tube. So I did a little experiment, And this one's pretty much empty. This is actually regular gasoline. We'll get into that in a little bit. So you see this little white stuff in here? So my little experiment was, I've heard how you always maintain your system. You gotta always, keep driving it, yada, yada, yada. You can't let E85 sit. I'm like, well, why not? It's like, because it can absorb moisture. Now, if you're in a place like out here in the desert, and you probably won't have as much moisture in the air to worry about. But if you're somewhere back east or on the, East Coast or down south somewhere like that, Mississippi, where it's stupid humid like Florida, then you're probably gonna have a little more moisture to get inside your fuel system, possibly. But if you're constantly driving and keeping her moving like that at least once or twice a week, then you should be good. I try to make sure I keep mine started at least once a week. I was gonna drive it today, but it decided to rain. Of all days, it wanted to rain, right? Crazy. Anyway, I didn't get to drive it today, but I did start it yesterday because, I felt like something stupid was gonna happen, and sure enough, I was right. But you see all this little murky stuff in here? So this is what they're saying about that moisture. So that moisture gets in there, and then it starts making this little gel-like substance. All that little white stuff in there, it starts making that stuff. And that's what gets inside your tank, your lines, your fuel filter, your injectors, and it starts building up over time. Now, the reason I have gasoline in here is because I wanted to see how this could break it down. Because I watched a video saying that you should pickle your system. I know, right? Weird choice of words there, but that's what they called it. Pickling your system is basically, dumping some 91 or 93 in there, letting it go through, letting it make sure that, it's breaking down all of this stuff and making sure everything's running in as smooth as it should be. And it helps break down this 91. So when I put the gasoline in there, I sat it on its side like this to see if it would eat away. And I left this top side up. So as you can see, it's definitely thicker on this top side than it was on this bottom side. So you see, it's hard to see through the freaking label, but I can see that it's definitely ate away at that stuff. And as you can see down there at the bottom where the gasoline's been sitting at, that stuff is pretty much non-existent down there. Like, there's a little bit, but there's not near as much as what's sitting up here that hasn't been touched by the gasoline. So the gasoline has been chilling down here at the bottom, and it's pretty much beat up all of that little, all that moisture and all that stuff, all the little gel that's been sticking around at the bottom down there. So pickle your system. That's one thing that I learned that I'm passing on to you guys. You gotta make sure that you're taking care of the system and make sure everything's not getting gummed up with this E85 and all that, that little gel and whatnot. Best way to do that, like I said, just get some 91, dump it in there, make sure it runs through the system, run that tank completely out, and then not really sure how often you should do that. I was just gonna start doing it, once a month. Or another thing you can look into is fuel conditioner. They make E85 fuel conditioner. I can't remember the brand, but it's a green bottle. It says like E85 fuel conditioner, and someone had they posted a picture. My buddy David sent it to us. Someone posted a picture of their fuel filter before and after, running the conditioner or something like that. It's like, I run this in every fill up, yada yada yada, and this is how my fuel filter look, and it was like pretty much a brand new looking fuel filter. And he's been running E85. So fuel conditioner, running 91. And even with the fuel conditioner, I think you should still run a tank of 91 through there every so often. Simply because with the E85, it's a drier fuel. What I mean by that is, just go get some rubbing alcohol right now, pour it on your hand, and then see how, or just get some sanitizer. Get some sanitizer and see how quick it dries up just that quick because of that alcohol. Pretty much the same thing. Like it dries up so freaking quick. Like I will waste this stuff and I never really have to worry about drying up because it just goes away. It dries up stupid quick. I wasted some regular old 87 octane. That mess just sat there. It just stunk up my hands. Oh my god, it was a terrible feeling. But anyway, unlike 91, E85 does not have those protective properties that regular old 91 or 93 has. Like, it doesn't get in there, it doesn't clean stuff out as well, it doesn't lubricate things as well. So that's another reason you should definitely pickle your system. I gotta find a different way to say that. That's another reason you should fill up on 91. So you can help, maintain those lubricants, keep those O-rings and things like that. Make sure everything's, jiving and cleaned out and as good as it can be. And then once you run that tank out, just fill it back up with E85 and then you're good to go. So it's a good thing that I figured this out now rather than later down the road. And I'm like, oh my God, I haven't been doing this the entire time. There's no telling how bad my fuel system is. So I just filled up on 91, I won't say 2 weeks ago, So I probably won't do it again until maybe like next month or something like that. And definitely do it before you go on a road trip. Like if you're planning on going on a road trip, you do not want this stuff to just be sitting in your tank, because like I said, this is what happened. Like if you're going on vacation or something, you're gonna be letting your car sit. This is what happened, and this was sitting there for maybe a month, month and a half, 2 months, I'm not sure. But I let it sit up there a while just to see what would happen over time to E85, because of all the things that I've been hearing about it if you just let it sit. Well, this apparently is, you know, one of the repercussions of letting it sit. All that stuff just gets gummed up and it starts building up over time, and you know, enough of it inside your injectors is not gonna be a good thing. But that's why you just run a little bit of 91. Cleans that stuff right on out. So, the last little bit of information I'm gonna leave, or the last little, I guess, nugget I'm gonna leave you guys with is E85 is another great option simply because of how cheap it is compared to regular 91, 93 octane and race fuel. So, you got your race fuel price up here, you got your 91, 93 down here, and then you got E85 down here. Every time that I go to fill up, I've never seen over $50 on a tank of gas. Granted, I don't let it get below a half, but usually I'll see like $15 to $25 to get up from half a tank. And then I fill up the rest of my jugs, and the most I've seen at the pump with filling up my car from about a quarter, filling up 4 jugs, which was 20 gallons, you know, 5 gallons a jug. So 4 jugs, about halfway in the car, and I think I got up to like $70. I've been seeing Instagram stories and Instagram, you know, videos of people who've been seeing $60, $70 in cars that use way less fuel. They could probably just be running around on 87 or 83, and they're seeing like $60 or $70. So they're filling up for the same amount of money that I'm using to fill up on E85. So that's just another little nugget for you, man. The cost to, you know, power benefit is definitely there, especially if you're on a boosted or some type of power adder application. Nitrous, supercharger, turbocharger. If you're on one of those, it's definitely worth taking a look at, especially if, you know, the stations are nearby. If you're on a naturally aspirated setup, obviously you won't see as much of a benefit, but you still do see, you know, 15, 20 wheel horsepower gain. You know what I'm saying? You won't see 50 or 60 wheel horsepower gain like simply switching over to E85 like a boosted application would. But you can definitely look into it if you're on a naturally aspirated setup. Hey, this isn't just for the boosted guys. You guys run it too. You just won't see as much of a benefit. So that might be a separate video, but for all my boosted guys, my nitrous, my turbocharged, my supercharged guys, but you guys thinking of making that jump, man, I definitely say go for it, especially if the stations are nearby. Like they're, like I said, 30 minutes away from me, and I find it 100% worth it. If I had to go back to SRT Auto Works and I had to do, you know, this all over again, I will 100% go with the Exotic Killer package again. It's been worth it. I've had nothing but fun with it. Now, obviously, I had to tailor my driving style a little bit. I had to, you know, do a couple of other things to, you know, accommodate for the E85. I had to get used to, you know, 1, 2, 3 tries every damn startup. But it's still been all worth it in the end versus, you know, running around here on a dicey 285 upper pulley on 91 octane, and then, you know, every time I go near the throttle, I'm just worrying if this baby's about to go or not. You know, just not what I want to do. So far, I've just been, you know, just having fun. I've actually, the only thing I've been really worried about is the damn transmission, because, you know, you guys have been watching the videos, you've seen that weird little 3 to 4 hiccup, but it comes and goes. That thing is so temperamental. Like, sometimes it'll do it, sometimes it won't. Sometimes I just go out there and bang through the gears just fine. Like, I don't know, whatever. That's not E85 related, obviously, but it is power related. And yeah, that's pretty much it, man. If you found this video helpful in any way, shape, or form, share it, like it, subscribe. Definitely subscribe. Hit that bell icon so you guys get a notification when these videos go up. To the Instagram channel at Low360 Soul, all one word. Until next time, Tube You out.